All right, the side shortcut. What does the side shortcut say? I know it says side, but what does it mean? You can prove two triangles are congruent if they are all congruent.
They're all the same side.
Three pairs of congruent sides proves congruent. So the side shortcut is three pairs of congruent sides. That's what the picture says. You have 1, 2, 3 pairs of congruent sides. If you have 3 pairs of congruent sides, you can prove that two triangles are congruent. Y'all were pretty successful with that on Friday. Another one that we also covered was the side angle side shortcut. Can you do better about reminding me what the side angle side shortcut looks like, sounds like, means? What do you see?
An angle between 2 pairs of congruent sides.
Okay, 2 pairs of congruent sides. And one pair of congruent included angles. Remember that the angle has to be between the two sides. So when you write it down, you have a side congruent to a side, a second side congruent to a second side, and an angle that is between the two sides. The A has to be between the S's, otherwise you get a bad word. And remember that ASS does not prove anything. Alright? So we're going to add 2 more today. We'll do the opposite of side angle side, which is angle side angle. Can you guess what angle side angle means? 2 pairs of congruent angles Bless you. So it's 2 pairs of congruent angles and 1 pair of congruent included sides. So now the side has to be between the angles for this to work. So we have an angle congruent to an angle, a second angle congruent to a second angle, and a side in between the 2 angles. You get the ASA shortcut. If you can prove 2 pairs of congruent angles and 1 pair of congruent included sides, you can prove the 2 triangles are congruent. Does that one seem complicated? So you have 3 right now: side, angle, side, angle. The last one that we're going to talk about is rarely used, but it is possible. The angle, side, or you can say side, angle. It goes both ways. Angle, side is 2 pairs of congruent angles one pair of congruent non-included sides. So in this instance, the side is not between the angles. This is the opposite of ASS. This is AAS. And that does prove congruence. So you still have two angles that are congruent, but you have a non-inclusive side that is congruent. That says SAA or AAS, and it does prove congruence. That's your fourth one. Okay, so the two that do not prove congruence, AAA does not prove congruence, AAA does not prove congruence, and ASS and or SSA, right? As you read it forwards and backwards. It's still AS or AS backwards. It does not prove anything. Make sure you guys know that those two do not work. Okay, you're going to use quite a bit of these on your test. It's going to ask you what shortcut is present in this diagram. What shortcut is present in this diagram? What shortcut proves these two triangles are congruent? So it should be a lot of read and identify from your multiple choice. So now we get into the practice phase. It says, given this information, can you prove these two triangles are congruent? So, right now you have two given statements. It tells you you have DA is congruent to MA, and you have AJ is congruent to AZ. What else can you see that will create a shortcut and then prove the two triangles are congruent? So what else can you see? Vertical angles. So if you wrote JAD, angle JAD is this angle right here, is congruent to angle ZAD because they're vertical angles. Right? Now, do you have two triangles that are congruent? Or what shortcut did you just create?
I see.
So you have, if you write what you marked, this side is congruent to this side is congruent to this side, and this angle is congruent to this angle. You have the side angle side shortcut. So you could write that triangle JDA is congruent to triangle ZMA, and you use the side angle side shortcut. So this is true because they're vertical angles, and this is true because it's given to you in the problem. So it's kind of like writing a baby proof. You have statements that you're making and reasons why it's true. I gave you two parts. You said you knew this thing called the vertical angles, and then you said I used the side angle side shortcut to prove the two triangles were congruent. I'm going to give you guys a list of, or a packet of things you could use on proofs to kind of help you remember all the good stuff. All right, the next section is going to be kind of quick. It's just identify what's going on. So, are these two triangles congruent? If they are congruent, tell me how you know they are congruent. So do you think those two triangles are congruent? This is kind of like your homework we did on Friday, classwork we did on Friday. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Mark what you have before you make any guesses. You have a side congruent to a side. What else do you have? An angle congruent to an angle. What else do you have? You have this side that's congruent to itself. What shortcut is that? This is the ASS shortcut. Is the A between the S's? So it's not SAS. That's the ASS shortcut. Does ASS prove anything? So no, the triangles are not congruent. We're writing yes or no here. If you answer yes, then you have to say why. That one's kind of hard to see, right? Is the A between the S's? No, does not prove congruence. What about this guy? Are these two triangles congruent? Mark what you have. You have an A congruent to an A. You have an A congruent to an A. And you have this side that is congruent to itself. What shortcut is generated? Does ASA prove congruence? Yes. So you're listing a shortcut and you're saying yes or no. So yes, those two triangles are congruent because of the ASA shortcut. What about this guy? Congruent, yes or no? Yes. What shortcut is it? It is the side shortcut. That one's pretty easy to see, isn't it? 3 pairs of congruent sides. That gives you 2 congruent triangles. Yes or no? Yes. Why? You have an angle congruent to an angle. You have a side congruent to a side. What about this angle right here? They are vertical angles and they are congruent. So what shortcut proves those two triangles are congruent? The ASA shortcut. Is it sinking in? Am I going too fast? Is it still just Monday laziness? What's going on? Monday laziness. I'll take it, but I'm going to force you guys to play the game. What about this guy? Mark what you have before you guess anything. You have a side congruent to a side, and you have an angle congruent to an angle. Do you know anything else, or can you reason anything else? No. The answer is no. Because the AS shortcut or the SA shortcut does not prove anything. Easy one, difficult one, confusing one. What about this guy? Okay, so JJ sees vertical angles right here. Now we have an angle congruent to an angle, a side congruent to a side, and an angle congruent to an angle. The answer is yes. Because of the angle side angle shortcut. Look at you guys doing it. Okay, now I'm going to take one piece of information away and make you provide it. It says, state which additional information is required in order to know the triangles are congruent for the given reason. I want to prove that these two triangles are congruent by the angle side angle shortcut. So I have to use angle side angle. What do I know right now?
Just looking for its side.
I have this side is congruent to this side, the reflexive property. And I have this angle is congruent to this angle. I want to use the angle side angle shortcut. So what else do I need to state is congruent to use that shortcut? Which angle? You got to do better than that. SUT goes like this. That's this angle right here. DUT goes right here. Now here's going to be the toughest thing that we do all day. You need to state the two triangles that are congruent to each other. You must say triangle this is congruent to triangle that. Do you understand why that can be complicated? No, you don't. You're guessing. Why is that going to be tough?
People are going to forget.
Forget what, JJ?
To write it down.
Yeah, you're going to forget to write it down, but for them to be congruent, all the matching angles must be stacked on top of each other. Everything has to be corresponding to what it was originally. So what would be a good way to do that? Do you see two angles that are marked as congruent? So what angle is this for the top triangle? U. What angle is this for the bottom triangle? U. Now, do you want to go up to the top, or do you want to go across to the side? Okay, so if I go from U to T, I must go from U to T. That goes from 2 marks to 1 mark, and I went 2 marks to 1 mark. What's the last angle I can say? UTD and UTS. It's weird, right? So these two triangles are marked as congruent, and they follow that same path. That way I know which part corresponds to which part. That's the hard part, is writing the congruent statement. I want to prove that these two triangles are congruent to each other by the side angle side shortcut. What do I have right now? I have angles. What else do I have? I have the same side. So right now I have the side angle, or the angle side, and I want to use side angle side. What else do I need? Another side. There's only one option. If you pick the wrong side, it's ASS, and I don't want that. I want SAS. This side and that side. So I need to say that VW is congruent to KX. And then the hard part.
Triangle VXW is congruent.
Okay, hold on. VXW. That goes from the 90 across the same side and down.
And then VXK.
So I have to start at the 90. I went up and down. So where do I have to start here? I have to start at X, go across the same side, and back down. X, V, K. You see how V is a 90-degree angle and X is a 90-degree angle, right? So I went across that shared side, VX for this triangle, and then across the shared side is XV. You see how XV and VX are the same line segment? So they're the first two that are listed. Then I went from K to V, the hypotenuse, and X to W, the hypotenuse. Those are the last ones. It's not so easy, right? It's kind of confusing. I like to mark them. Like I know this angle and this angle are the same. This angle and this angle are the same. So it goes 90, 1, 2, 90, 1, 2. That way you can kind of map out what you're doing. I want to use the side angle side shortcut. What other side do I need? If CA is congruent to LJ, that gives me the side angle side shortcut, side angle side. And you need to write a congruent statement. This one should be not as terrible because they're written in the same orientation. So start at the same place and go in the same order. Everybody at once. So you're just going to miss this question on your test, huh? ACB. That goes here, up, and down. Do the same thing over there. JLK. Does that kind of make sense why we're doing that? That one's a little easier to see, right? The angle side angle shortcut. Ooh, tricky. Which two sides have to be congruent in order to use the angle side angle shortcut? And who wants to give this one a shot? DFE. That goes from 1 to blank to 2. Then 1 to blank to 2 would be LJK. Careful, they were flipped. You see how I started at the 1 and I went to the blank and I went to 2? I have to do the same thing here. 1, blank, 2. That keeps them in the correct order. Oh, sorry. Is that why I was getting confusing looks? JLK. Good catch. Sorry, I made a mistake. I would have got that wrong on the test. Good thing I'm making the answer key, right? Haha. The side angle side shortcut. What other piece has to be true in order for the side angle side shortcut to work? I need a side, but which side specifically? JI and TS. I screwed it up last time, so I'm going to take myself out of the game. JIH. And then TSR. Alright, last one. The angle side angle shortcut. What other angle do I need? What's that? Which angle? You can cheat on this one. Angle L and angle T. How do you want to do that? 1, 2, blank, blank, 1, 2, 2, 1, blank. MKL, Can I do MLK? I want to be patriotic.
And STU.
So it went 1, 2, blank. So I have to go 1, 2, blank. STU. Shout out to my boy Martin. Anybody? So I went like this. 1, 2, blank. Do the same thing. 1, 2, blank. Have to follow the pattern. So the last thing is, maybe, can you reason through this for me, please? You really want to do this? I have something in my eye. I'll let you guys kind of take a second to soak it in. Remember, we are recording this. So it says given RS and UT are congruent. So could we mark that on the picture? Tell me how to mark that. This one and this one are the same. So RS is congruent to TU. That's given. And RT and US are the same. That's also given to me. What else can I justify or see in that problem?
Same side.
The same side one, right? So we're talking about this one right here. ST is the same as ST. Y'all remember that fancy word Y? Remember we played this game last time? It was like Hangman. We'll play it again. Reflexive property.
Oh.
That might be a multiple choice answer on a test that you have. It'll say like A, B, C, or D, the reflexive property, or the symmetric property, or the transitive property. So you need to kind of remember that. Remember you reflect in the mirror? Because it's like a mirror of itself. The reflexive property. So have I just proved this statement? Triangle RST is congruent to triangle UTS. Have I just proved that? How? What shortcut said those two triangles are congruent? The SSS shortcut says those two triangles are congruent. Does that make sense? So you might see answers like the symmetric property, side angle side. Would that work? Or it will say the reflexive property, comma, side, side, side. Would that work? If you're filling in the blank? So this will be blank on a paper you might receive in the future, and it's your job to fill in these two blanks. And if you forget, you could always go search up the YouTube channel and watch it, right? The last like 5 minutes, go look at it real quick and remember what's going on. I feel like doing one more. I don't know why. So same kind of thing here. It says angle Q is congruent to angle T. Given. Side QR is congruent to side TR. What else do I know? The vertical angles. So angle QRP, that's this angle right here, is congruent to angle TRS, that's this angle right here. Why? Vertical angles. So then you could say triangle QRP is congruent to triangle. I went 1, 2, blank, so I have to go 1, 2, blank. Why are those two triangles congruent? AS, yay! It makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah? Alright.